Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another important Angular component lifecycle hook, that is ngAfterContentChecked. So in our last session, we discussed about ngAfterContentInit, and in this session, we are going to talk about ngAfterContentChecked. Okay, so we will proceed in the same way. I'll firstly walk you through the definition of this concept, and then later on we will create one example. And example I have already created because to explain this concept, like if I write it together, then it would be a bit difficult for you to understand the thing. That's why I have already noted down the things, and I'll explain you each and everything. Okay, so don't worry, it would be similar of a scratch coding, but I'll show you everything whenever we are going through the code. Okay, but before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. So for time being, I'm just showing you what all things we have implemented here. Okay, so let's start with the definition itself. Like, what is ngAfterContentChecked? So the ngAfterContentChecked lifecycle hook is called during every change detection cycle. Okay, so this is a hook which is called every time. Okay, whereas if we talk about the ngAfterContentInit, it is called only one time. But when we talk about ngAfterContentChecked, it is called multiple time for every change detection after Angular has finished initializing and checking the projected content. Okay, so here we will also talk about the projected content. So those who have watched the previous session, they have idea like how we project the content, right? So this is also related to that projected content, but the only difference here is that it will occur every time for the every change detection. Whereas in case of ngAfterContentInit, it is processed only when in case of ngAfterContentInit, it is only invoked one time when the content is shared, or you can say projected. Clear? Fine. Now to explain this thing, firstly you can create your own component. So I'll just show you how to create component, and I have already created with the name student. So if you want to create it, you can simply go to new terminal. Here you can write ngGC. Let me show you how. So here it will take few seconds. Yeah, so here you can just simply write ngGC and your component name, which is student. Okay, so once you write this thing and hit enter, it will create the component for you. So here we can see there is a component with the name student, which contains 4 files: css, html, spec.ts and component.ts. And then we have app.component file, through which we will connect this student component. Okay, so let's go one by one. So firstly, I'll show you how we are projecting the content from parent component to child component. So for that, you can simply go to this app.component.html file. Here what we are doing, we have created, like, we know like how to connect the child component with parent component, right? So here you can see in student.component.ts file, there is a selector. Okay, so you can simply copy this selector and simply go to this app.component.html. Here you can use it as a tag. But remember one thing, to use this here, firstly you need to go to app.component.ts, and here it should be initialized. Here it should be imported. Okay, so you just need to write this thing student component, and it will be automatically added. If it is not, then you can add it manually. Okay, you can simply write this thing according to your location. Once you are done with these two things, then you can simply go back to this app.component.html file, and after that we can create this paragraph part. So what this paragraph is basically doing here, it creates this notebook. Like, this is a template variable name. You can say it's a kind of nickname that we are using for this paragraph. So whenever we want to access this from the child component, we will use it. Okay, and then here I'm printing the text, which is projected notebook. Now from where it is coming? So it is coming from the app.component.ts file. I'll show you how it is coming. Okay, apart from this paragraph part, what I did, I created this input button. Okay, so what it will do, it will ask the user to put the subject which you want to project. Okay, so for example, I want to, because we all know that once the projected content is changed, at that time this hook will be invoked. Okay, so that is the reason, like we are asking user for the new subject name so that he can provide the subject name, and accordingly it will change the data. Okay, then we have, now suppose we have received the value from the user, then how user will send it. So to send it, what you can do, you can use this click event for the button submit subject. So once user click on this button, it will submit the data. Okay, now you can simply go to this app.component.ts file. Here what we are doing, we have declared two variable. One is user input, and I just show you, like we are sending it from here, user input. And what is ng model? So this is for two-way data binding. Okay, if you don't know about this concept, don't worry, I'll also tell you in future like what is two-way data binding. Okay, but I'm assuming that you know about this thing, but if it is not clear, no problem, I'll show you. Okay, then after this, what we will do, we will declare one variable with the name projected notebook. So for the very first time, the subject would be maths. Okay, but the moment user click on this button after changing the subject name, so whatever subject name user is sending from there will be assigned to this projected notebook, and that name would be printed on the screen as a paragraph. Clear? So I hope this thing is clear to all of you. So this part is for the parent component. Now what things we have implemented in child component? In child component, firstly you can go to the student component.html. Here we have to use the tag which is ngContent. So what this ngContent will do, it will help us to project the element data which is mentioned in the app.component.ts file in parent component. Now to receive the things, we go there in student.component.ts, and here we are doing all the required thing, like we are so here I'm using both methods, okay, for now, because I want to show you the difference between them. So firstly, what we are doing, we are accepting the projected content using content child. So you can see here we are accessing the content child. So @content child notebook exclamation colon element ref. Now this element ref you need to include here. So here you can see in case of import. So for import, like whenever you write something, for example element ref, so it will check if it is not there, it will show you that it is not initialized, so you can simply import it. Okay, fine. And similarly, like you can see whatever function I'm using here, I'm implementing it. And in one of my session I told you that this is not mandatory. If you don't write this thing, that will work, but it is highly recommended, because through this you can easily find out like what all hooks method you have used in this particular component class. Okay, fine. Now what this line will do, it will provide us this line will help us to access the element that we have declared inside this app.component.html file. Okay, fine. Now after this we are running one function which is ngAfterContentInit. So this function will be invoked only one time, whenever the user projected the data, and this function has the capability to access the input variables. Okay, that not input, the variable that are projected by the component. Okay, so it can access this content child. So what we are doing basically here, we are creating one constant content, this dot notebook dot native element dot text content. So what it will do, it will hold the entire content of your app.component.html file. Okay, then we have console.log. Here what we are doing, we are just printing one message from ngAfterContentInit, notebook projected by teacher is content. Okay, so it will simply print the content here. Okay, then we have main function, that is ngAfterContentChecked. So here also I'm doing the same thing. We are storing the content part, then we are printing console.log, that is from ngAfterContentChecked, notebook projected by teacher. So this thing will be called multiple time. Why? Because it will run on every change detection. Okay, fine. So this thing is clear, I hope. Now let's run this application, and if there is any confusion in any of the code or something, you can just simply ping me. I'll let you know how to fix it. Okay. Alright, so now it's time to run the application. So I will write ngserve -open, enter. So you just need to wait for a few seconds, and it will provide you a way like through which you can check the output, because it will open the browser for us. So we will just wait for a few seconds, and it will open the browser. Yes, so browser is open. So here we will check the value of, let me show you. So let's go to the inspect. In case of inspect, go for console, and now you can see firstly it prints the message from ngAfterContentInit notebook projected by teacher is maths. So this is the first thing. Okay, after that, so you can see this init method is invoked only one time. Now for the second one, ngAfterContentChecked notebook projected by teacher is still maths, because this function will also get invoked whenever the projected element is accessed. Okay, then again it is accessed. So you can see here from ngAfterContentChecked notebook projected by teacher is again maths. So for every change detection it will be invoked. In fact, whenever I start writing it here, it will be called again and again, because it is performing this operation for every change detection. Let me show you. So suppose if I change the subject name English, so I'll write E, click here E. So you can see again it is called, and again it is called. So you can see the number 2, GLISH. So it is called 7 times, because for every change, even if it is a single letter, it will invoke this ngAfterContentChecked. And once we click on submit button, so far we have not clicked the submit button, that's why it is taking the name as maths only. But the moment when you click on this submit button, it will take the new value, that is English. Okay, but here you can see ngInit is not called, because it will be called only one time at the initiation, not every time. But ngAfterContentChecked, it will be invoked again and again. Clear? Similarly, if you change something, or if you click on the same value again, you can see now it is called 2 times. So this is the entire process. Now if I explain you in the very layman terms, so you can simply say that whenever Angular perform a change detection cycle, at that time ngAfterContentChecked is performed, and it will check all the changes made in the projected content. That's it. So that is the simplest definition we can say. Okay, and you can say that yes, Angular also updates the properties decorated with @ContentChild and @ContentChildren before raising ngAfterContent hook. Okay, so I hope. And one more thing, Angular raises this hook even if there is no projected content in the component. So that is very important line. Sometime in an interview you might be asked like, will it be invoked if there is no projected content? So you can say yes, it still hook is run even if there is no projected content. Okay, and one more thing you can say that ngAfterContentInit hook is called after the project content is initialized, whereas ngAfterContentChecked is called whenever the projected content is initialized and checked and updated. Okay, so yeah, these are the all things which we wanted to discuss in this particular session. Now if you have any question, or if you want to ask anything, please comment in the comment section. So I hope this session is clear to all of you. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.